Hello and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon and we have a great show for you. Taking a look at the past week, it has been quite eventful. The floods are back. In fact, the floods have ravaged areas in Delta State, Anambra State, and Lagos State. And we hope that the appropriate authorities are doing the best they can to make sure the lives and the properties of Nigerians are secured. Also, in some political news, Professor Wole Soyinka has stated that the reason why Obi and Atiku lost the elections, the presidential elections, is as a result of running separate tickets. And since the courts have now upheld the presidency of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think it is now time for us to take a closer look at the government's efforts at cutting down expenditure and expenses. That is, if they're doing it. Before I jump straight into how we can actually cut down the luxury in government, it is worthy of note that in 2019, President Buhari approved about 37 billion naira for the National Assembly complex renovation. Now, in 2021, the Federal Capital Development Authority, the FCDA, also approved about 30 billion for the same renovation. And very recently, I think via the supplementary budget, about 70 billion has also been allocated for the same project. And it begs the question, this particular complex that they keep renovating, how strong is this particular structure, and why does it need to be renovated constantly? Or is this just another way to put money in their pockets? Not to mention also at the state level, how governors are having a lot of aids and just sort of making the cost of governance way more expensive. Considering the fact that we live in times where the government truly needs to cut down their expenses, considering the increase in the cost of goods and services as a result of the fuel subsidy removal and other factors. Well, to analyze this particular situation in the studio, I have with me Wale Oshunde, a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you again.
I think you've really done my job. You've made it very easy for me. I love your intro.
Oh, thank you very much. So let's get straight into it. First of all, before we start talking about this current government, what has been the track record of the previous government when it comes to curbing down expenses?
Of course, they've not even curbed anything. So they've just been spending the money. That's exactly what they've been doing. I mean, thinking about the humongous amounts that, have been sunk into renovation projects and what have you. You hear all sort of stories, the cliches, we have rodents at a time, that were eating the furniture in the State House, right? And then there was one other time that they said that there was this allegation of wiretapping and what have you at the National Assembly. Then again, some other people came around to say that, oh, look, there were damaged chairs, and so honorable members and distinguished senators, of course, could not even sit to carry out the functions of lawmaking. So you hear all these stories and then you're like, look, so do we do this every year? And can't we kill these rodents once and for all? So when you hear things like that, it begs the question, are we really sincere about cutting the cost of governance in this country? And look, this does not happen at the national level alone. If you go to the various states that we have, 36 of them, you find out, and of course the FCT, so you find out that this is exactly the same story. In fact, sometimes you just see some dilapidated buildings, and then they go with the cameras and what have you to show all of these things, only for you to then later hear that, they've earmarked about 10 billion, 20 billion. It's always in billions. And so nobody has ever mentioned to us that, look, they would spend just 20 million naira to carry out some little renovation works and what have you. And
sorry,
really
that leads me to my follow-up question. These projects, like you said, are in billions. Are you suggesting that there's always an issue of budget padding?
Of course. I mean, look, you see, the truth is one should not shy away from the reality of the fact that we need to renovate our structures. Even in our various homes, we carry out renovation works here and there. This switch is not working, that fan is not working well, and then we change them from time to time. But I mean, think about how much we spend to renovate our private residences, our private apartments, and then think about the billions that are, flashed in our faces, right, to renovate public facilities. It is really unacceptable. And that's exactly why, and one critical question that you must ask yourself is that these leaders, can they spend this same amount of money that they, spend on public infrastructure, on their private residences, on their private properties? It's never going to be the same. So, and why are they then appropriating and indeed spending these humongous amounts on, renovation of public infrastructure? And look, the truth is they don't actually spend those exact amounts. That's the truth. So some people are definitely padding something somewhere, or some people are basically stealing the money somewhere and somehow. Simple. And look, this is an opportunity for we, the people, to actually hold government officials to account in this country. And until we do that, we'll be joking. And that's exactly why some of us have gone to town for donkey years now, calling on our brothers and sisters never to collect monies during electioneering process from politicians. Because the truth is, when you collect that 500 naira, you collect that 1,000 naira, or you even collect that 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira, the truth is for the next 4 years, your life is basically holding up. And nobody is going to be accountable to you, because they would actually come back to you to say, look, you collected your rights, during the elections. And so until we stop that behavior, and we probably talk to our brothers and sisters, because look, these are human beings doing all of these things. They are the ones collecting these monies, not spirits, right? Not mythical beings, right? So we should go and talk to them from constituency to constituency to let our brothers and sisters know that until we stop these habits of shame, and charade, public officials and politicians alike would continue to fool us around, and we would not have any right to question them in any manner whatsoever.
All right. I would want to talk about how this has affected our revenue. Last week on the show, we spoke about how Nigeria is so much in debt and how 90% of our revenue is used for debt servicing as opposed to being used for infrastructural projects. How do you think it's affecting the cost of governance and how monies are being spent? How do you think it's affecting our revenue as a nation?
So the first thing I would like to say about that is that, look, we would not blame that on this current government. I'm not their spokesperson, but we have to be very honest with ourselves, right? So all these debts are piled up before they even assumed office. One is only thinking and hoping and praying that President Tinubu and his officers or officials, right, or his ministers, and public officers alike, or his appointees, would be able to get it right this time around and ensure that they probably wind down on the cost of, debt servicing and all these monies that we're borrowing. In previous years or previous administrations, one would see that it's completely unacceptable. I'm telling you, a situation where we just go to the National Assembly and then it feels like we had the rubber stamp National Assembly at the time. They just go there with some proposals. We want to borrow money, $30 billion, this billion naira, this, and then they just stamp it and then they go collect the money. At the end of the day, no explanation whatsoever. But look, even when they explain or they try to explain, it does not take away the fact that you and I, even our children, and then those unborn are definitely going to bear the brunt at the end of the day.
Now, don't you think it's probably going to be the same situation in this government? Because as you know, the president and of course the Senate president, they are from the same party, which was the case in the previous administration because Senator Ahmed Lawan was also from the same party as President Muhammadu Buhari. You cannot take away the influence of President Tinubu on making sure that Senator Godswill Akpabio becomes Senate president. Don't you think it might just be the same situation?
Well, we can only hope. That's the honest truth. We can only hope that it is not exactly the same. And maybe this is another opportunity for all of us to call on all of them, to at least do what is right for once. This is an opportunity for them to right all their wrongs and to write their names in the book of history in this country. They can actually make a difference. It is very easy to do. It takes commitment, it takes dedication, and it takes forthrightness. They must be determined. If what the president has been saying is anything to go by, it sounds like someone who is serious about governance, but whether it would be able to really cut down the cost of governance is another thing entirely. But let's give him a chance. I think we are still in the early days. We should give him a chance and opportunity, but we should continue as citizens to reiterate the fact that he's made certain commitments, to the Nigerian people, and he must deliver on, these critical commitments because our lives depend on these commitments, and we are definitely going to hold him to account at the end of the day.
So, if we're going to cut down governance, the cost of governance, I think the signs should be clear from the beginning. as you can see, the president has appointed a list of ministers, and I'm sure there are lots of the list of appointees that other executive officers and even non-executive officers have actually appointed. And as we can see, I don't think there's any change in terms of the staffing, the number of staffing. If there's anything, in some quarters it has actually increased. Is that not an indication that perhaps this government is not actually committed to cutting down costs?
Good. And I'll be very honest with you. Look, during the electioneering campaigns, I knew that the president was going to have this massive problem. In fact, if I will be honest with you, and that is not to say that I'm a card-carrying member of any political party at this time, right? I thought that the only person who probably would have been able to appoint a very few number of ministers would have been Peter Obi. Because if you look at the politicians, looking around the three major contenders, during the electioneering process, you see that he had, less number of politicians flocking and locking around him at the time, who would definitely expect some political compensation. If you look at the APC, you would see that a lot of people, in fact, former governors, former ministers, former senators, current senators, and all that at the time were all supporting now President Bola Tinubu, and they were all going everywhere with him. Those people definitely would be expecting to be compensated at the end of the day. Let's not deceive ourselves. In fact, I believe that the president found himself in a very difficult situation, appointing some people that he has already appointed. And if you look very critically, you see that some people are probably still expecting to be appointed into the government because they made certain sacrifices during the electioneering. And, some of them even stepped down. And people have been asking questions. So you definitely want to ask about former governor of Lagos State, Fashola, former governor of Ekiti State, Fayemi, former governor of Ogun State, Ibikule Amosu, even El Rufai. There are a lot of people, who are still probably waiting in the flanks.
So but should that be the case? Should our governments be used as compensation tools to the people that helped a candidate get into power?
It shouldn't be. But the truth is, the reality of our climb, has shown us that this is what happens year after year, or, every 4 years. You see, the truth is, people just believe that, look, let me support this candidate, give in my all, spend my money, do everything, campaign canvas, and then at the end of the day, at least I should have a say in the government. It really shouldn't be like that. But, this is Nigeria, and this is exactly what we have been doing over the years, right? So, and also, just as I was saying, if you allow me, look at the PDP as well. If Alhaji Atiku Abubakar had won the election, he would have also had to deal with this because a lot of people were around him, supporting him, campaigning for him and canvassing for votes for him, spending their monies, hoping that they would also have, an opportunity in government. So he would have also had that same problem, you see. But the only person, like I said, that I thought would probably have little problem in this regard would have been Obi, because if you look at the number of politicians locking and flocking around him at the time, known faces, right? They were very few in number. And then he would have probably had the opportunity to look outside of the box and look probably outside, of politicking and, political parties to appoint some people that would, help him, get the gains of government and governance to the people. So, but that has not happened. That is not to say that some of the people that have been appointed now are probably not good people or they are not fit for the job. But definitely what we must do as Nigerians is to definitely hold them to account and continue to demand for accountability, good governance, and the dividends of democracy. The reasons why we have actually put them in offices in the first place. We must continue to ask for all of these things. And then until we get to the promised land, we must not stop.
So, the executive arm of government is supposed to be checkmated by the legislative arm of the government. However, it seems like, just like you stated, they are all working together and they all come to terms in terms of an agreement, and they all turn a blind eye to these excesses. So since we know that checkmating is not working, do we have bodies, peer pressure groups that are actually making an impact in this regard in terms of demanding accountability, demanding good governance, and how effective are those groups?
So to be honest, Hero, I would not say that the legislature is not working. They're working, and they have a constitutional duty to perform. Until we change the provisions of our constitution, there is really nothing that anybody can do about the fact that the legislative powers of this country, lawmaking, I would say job, rests and abides with the National Assembly. What I think is missing is proper accountability and the fact that the Nigerian people have not, held their representatives and their senators to account in this country.
So do we have a provision? Because I'm aware, but I stand to be corrected, that there's a provision where even the people can recall House of Assembly members back.
Absolutely.
Are people aware that using that power, they're able to hold their leaders accountable?
So maybe that is also something we need to pay attention to at this point. Sensitization of our people, the awareness, that these rights do exist. People have been saying for years, but we've only been saying these things, that the highest office in the land is the office of the citizen. And we must definitely then start to propagate some of this gospel. That's the truth. We should know, or we should let our people know that, look, if a representative is not doing well, you can actually recall that representative. If the senator is not doing well, you can recall that senator. And look, even if an executive person, say for instance, a governor, a president, or even a chairman of the local government is not performing as expected, the truth is the people can actually cry out and ask representatives who should carry out the legislative functions of the country to rise to the occasion and then question or query such a person. There are these provisions in the law, but the unfortunate truth is that people have not been keying into the provisions of the Constitution or the laws that we have in this country. Until we then begin to make these demands, you see, we will just continue to talk. Nigeria will continue to be like this. Every 4 years we appoint or elect new set of leaders. They do the same thing, and then we go nowhere. But we have no business being where we are at this point in time. This country is blessed, powerfully blessed, massively blessed. But you see, people who are abroad, who are out there, even know that we are blessed than we even know it. So maybe to your point, the truth is we then need to rise to the occasion, start to sensitize our people, talk to them from time to time, maybe even take these campaigns to our various wards, constituencies, local governments, and what have you, because our people must really know that they have this right.
Speaking of wards and local governments, it seems like we've been concentrating on just the federal government, but this issue is also predominant with our state governments, and particularly the local government. I want to talk about autonomy. Are our local governments truly autonomous?
They are not. And that is really sad and unfortunate. Look, and it is simply because of lack of political will. The governors or the states have basically hijacked the functions, the powers, the functionality of the local governments. We have to tell ourselves the truth, because we are not going anywhere until we tell ourselves the truth. There is no local, I'm yet to see any local government in this country that is functional. I traveled somewhere 2 weeks ago, and the road that leads right to the local government office is completely bad. In fact, I got to a point, and then it has completely cut into two. Can you imagine that? And I was just asking people, look, are you saying that the local government chairman here travels through this road, or he passes this particular portion of the road to the local government secretariat every day and he has not done anything about it? But guess what they told me? Look, this local government chairman does not even have resources to furnish his office. It does not even have file cabinets. And I was asking why. They said the state has basically cornered all the funds that should go to the local government. I stand to be corrected today. There is really no local government in this country. What we have is the fact that the Constitution has simply made provisions for the establishment and running of local governments, 774 of them, but I kid you not, they are not functional. So year on year, they have become tools in the hands of the governors to actually perpetuate themselves in office. Pure and simple.
Okay. In my opening monologue, I talked about renovation and how monies are being allocated almost every dispensation for renovations. Why always renovations? Why?
So I think I have an idea. Look, from what we can see in the country, one can see that the only way, or one critical way for politicians to actually make a lot of money is for them to embark on white elephant projects. It's either you are seeing a politician constructing one bridge or one dam, or they are renovating this structure or that structure, or they are erecting some big, structures somewhere, or they want to construct a very long stretch of road and what have you. Now, don't get it wrong. It is not to say that they should not construct roads or that we should not build bridges, or that we should not furnish our schools, or what have you and what have you. But we have seen that that is one channel through which they funnel money. So they go and connive with those contractors at the end of the day, and then they get kickbacks for whatever humongous amounts they must have probably signed out for them to do these construction works. So one thing that we really need to do in this country is what I call public scrutiny. We have to hold our political appointees and our leaders accountable, to every every kobo that they spend. Now, why don't we have a structure and arrangement where a governor comes around maybe once every year to say, yes, we have awarded this project, that project, this project, that project. This is how much it would cost to build this road, 10 per kilometer. It will cost so amount. If you go around today, and that was the time I was doing a study on how much it costs, to construct roads in this country. You'll be shocked to hear that the amounts differ from state to state. Isn't that interesting? If in Lagos State, for instance, it will cost, I'm just saying, 1 naira to construct 1 kilometer of road, and in Ogun State, a neighboring state, it will cost 2 naira to construct that same 1 kilometer of road. Don't you think there is a problem with that? Because they are using the same set of materials to construct this road. And you are probably using the same contractor to do this work. So why is it different? Why should it be different? And please, go and compare how much we build roads and bridges in this country to how much they build in Ghana, and convert it back to Nigerian naira. You'll be alarmed. So all of these things should not just be taken lightly by the Nigerian people. And until we wake up, we demand justice, we demand for equity, we demand for accountability in government. We'll be joking, we'll be deceiving ourselves. And guess what? These politicians are not interested in all the rantings and what have you. They're interested in the next election. And as we speak, people are already calculating, machinating, and strategizing for the next election. And we are here as Nigerians just looking on, and then we're not doing anything, we're not demanding anything. And this same set of people will come back again next year, or in 3 years' time, to say, re-elect us, and we collect 5,000 naira, collect 10,000 naira, and then we go on again, cast our ballots for them, or they probably snatch the ballot boxes and nobody's saying anything. And then they continue to perpetuate themselves and their children in offices. I think the time has come for Nigerians to be honest with themselves and for them to do the right thing. What is the right thing? Very simple. Can we hold our leaders to account in this country? Look, we must continue to call on God. I'm also a child of God in my own way, right? But I think that we should do more of action than talking in this country. We talk a lot, we pray a lot, we do all sorts of things, but we never action those points that we call on God to do for us. And God will not come down to come and take charge of our affairs for us. He has given us brains, he has given us wonderful people, enlightened people, educated people in this country. All we need to do is to congregate at that juncture where we tell ourselves core truths, and then we match our words with absolute action.
All right, Wale, we've spoken at length about this particular issue. We've shed light on the issue of renovations constantly as a way that the government siphons money. I don't know if we have time to even go down to the civil service and the issue of ghost workers, the issue of fleet of cars. I don't know why every government official requires a very long fleet of cars. What do you think we can do about that? I mean, this program is also a platform for the government to truly hear what the people are feeling. So what do you think? Should we perhaps collaborate with our indigenous car makers to add that to the official convoy of the government officials? Do we cut down the number of vehicles? What is your take on this constant monies being spent on importing brand new vehicles?
Look, I don't have a problem with importation of vehicles, I'll be honest with you, or whatever. Look, all these things that we're saying about local manufacturing and all these things and all that, we'll be deceiving ourselves if we don't address the foundational problem that we have in the country. The foundational problem is that our politicians are really not, some of them, not all of them, some of them are not conscientious enough, period. Why do you need 10 vehicles? Why? I mean, let me give you a very simple instance. Some people are, some former governors are now ministers. And when they were governors, vehicles were bought for them, right? And when they were leaving offices, some of them went with these vehicles.
Exactly. That was the next point I was about to get.
Oh, good. So some of them left with these vehicles. And now you have been appointed to be a minister in the government. And they are buying 5 or whatever number of new vehicles for you again. So what happened to the previous ones that you were using as governor? You yourself can actually tell maybe the president or whoever is going to buy those vehicles to you to say, for you to say, I don't need these vehicles because I still have my own vehicles. Some people have 30 vehicles in their houses, and they are not even using these vehicles, and you still want to amass more, you know, with the money of the public. And that's maybe why I like what the former governor of Ogun State did, you know, when he became a senator of the Federal Republic. He wrote to the governor of the state to say, stop the pension and, you know, the money that you pay to me every year from Ogun State, because now I'm serving as a senator of the Federal Republic and I'm earning public money. We should continue to encourage things like that. And I mean, and look, this is not to say that some other people have not done so.
We're out of time now, Wale. Thank you so very much. And we'd like to have you some other time. Rubbin Mind continues after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Rubbin Minds. Before we went on the break, we were having a conversation about how the government can actually cut down the expenditure and the cost of governance so that it can have enough money to embark on capital projects that will benefit the people, especially considering the times that we live in. Now we want to move on to some entertainment. I know that there is a day that this pain will go away. Until then, I will just party it away. I know that there is a day when this pain will go away. Until then, I will smoke it away. Now, those were the words of the late singer Mohbad, who tragically passed on, and he was just 27 years old. From the initial reports, it was being said that he died as a result of an ear infection, but with recent revelations that have been circulating the internet, allegedly, there's so much secrecy shrouded in his demise. And the question on everybody's mind is, what killed Mohbad? Why was an autopsy not carried out? Why was he buried horridly, even though his faith did not demand it? Nigerians are asking, is there truly a dark side to the Nigerian music industry that is filled with bullying, harassment, and even physical abuse? We're just truly hoping that the appropriate authorities will be able to launch a proper investigation into this matter and uncover the truths that every Nigerian truly wants to hear. We're going to be talking about the complex and shocking behind the scenes in the Nigerian music industry. And joining me in the studio is K-Solo. Welcome to the program.
How you doing, bro?
I'm good.
I feel the type of way being here, but you know, I wasn't supposed to be here because of this, but it's what it is. As a custodian, we have to do the rightful and the needful.
Yeah. So the internet space has been filled with so many videos, documents, and of course, it is not in our place to validate those videos or documents. It is left for the appropriate authorities to interpret its validity. But truly, what is the picture? Before we get into the details of everything circulating, what is the picture of the Nigerian music industry when it comes to record label and their artists?
Oh, it's actually deep, and it's been a major issue that we've been facing for years. And a lot of people want to do music because they have the talent. A lot of people want to do music because they feel they actually broke, you know. Now, most record label owners are businessmen, and they just want to make money. You see some contracts are terrible contracts that, you know, for people who have been in the industry, if you get through it or probably get a lawyer to go through, you ask yourself, like, why would you sign this? This is slavery. So it's been like that. So there's always been a problem with the record labels and artists from the foundation, because you look at it like, okay, I am not putting the money down, I'm doing this, this one on my payroll. So because of that, they have to be on that slavery contract. It's sad, it's terrible. It's been happening for a very long time.
So if an artist wants to leave a record label, how can an artist leave a record label without any issues?
Now, most times there are always issues because most of these boys, like I said, they are hungry. They just want to show. They just want to put food on the table. They want to make their family proud. They just want, some of them, a lot of things is attached to signing these deals. They don't take time to go get this legal representative to want to check through this and say, okay, don't sign this. They are carried away with the razzmatazz. They're carried away with that big chains and all that. So you just want to be there. Like, okay, I'm the one rolling with this person now. So it eats more of them out. So they don't read this. And in the long run, when you want to leave, they show you this contract. There's one clause there that you didn't see because you were so much in the years. You know, so it's always been like that. So that legal representation has been thrown away from every of these artists. That's where they find themselves in this position. Most times, it's always a clause they never reach through. And it's also a bad thing for you as a record label owner, for an artist to want to leave and allow them leave. I have floated the label before, even though I didn't do it as business. But the real sense of it is everybody that have worked through me, from Timaya to Clever J, you know, all of them they're standing well. There's never been an issue of such, because in the real sense of it, it's high time I tell investors, people who want to actually invest in music, because music is a new oil too. Get the right people to help you flouse this label. Get people who understand music. You have to lessen your idea of understanding, like, music is not rice and gari, where you put 10,000 today and you want to make money the next minute. It is not. It takes a time to grow.
There are also issues of certain artists that have left a particular record label, blaming the record label for their stagnation while they were at that label.
There's no
saying
lies.
that sometimes record labels hold their music and they don't release their songs.
There is no lie.
Just to suppress the artist.
It's not even about holding the song. Holding the song is very small. It's very small. There's this cabal I've always talked about a long time. And people looked at me at that moment and said that maybe because I was not on top of the game.
Which cabal is that?
The cabal that, you know, it's like, for example, I own a label. I have somebody in this channel. I have somebody in this station. I have somebody in this place, you know, like the network where you spread your song through. So if an artist leaves your label, the next thing you do is text message goes, "Pram, that artist song, don't play it. That song, don't fly."
So you blacklist?
You blacklist the artist.
So do you know anybody that has blacklisted a particular artist?
They've done it severally. I don't want to mention names here. They've done it severally. So many that you will hear calls will come in. Don't play that artist song. That artist song, please get it out of the airwaves. Now, the problem again is, see, when you own a station, I've had similar issues on Sound City. You understand? There's a guy called Olamide in Sound City. You know, he has done that severally for a lot of people. Just feel like, okay, if this does not go through my table, you should be out of it. Once you don't belong to their team, you should be out of it. It should stop. They've killed talent. They've finished talent every day in this country. Every day in this country.
So coming to the issue of Mohbad, because obviously that's why we're here. Can you tell me what the situation truly was between Mohbad, Naira Marley, and also Larry?
I'm not going to be so specific about what I want to say, but I'm just going to tell you what I think I know. There are a team of people that I think they're actually record label owner, artist, friend of the family. But I think things actually went bad at the time when they wanted to leave the label. And that is where I think the problem started from. Plus, a lot of evidence has been flying all around, not even about the case of bullying and all that, but in terms of music, you know, I think that's where the problem started from, the case of leaving a label and all that, and not working and not having access to your catalog, and what is supposed to be for you is you don't get it. You get what I'm saying? And I think that is where actually started from. And for Sam Larry, I think Sam Larry is probably a friend of the house too as well. You understand? But I think he ended up being like, let me use the word they use on the streets, errand boy to Naira. You get what I'm saying? This is the boss, the record label owner, is a friend of the house, and yes, the artist. You know, so they are all working together as against the artist. So
did you know that Mohbad was physically assaulted?
I never knew. Because trust me, as a custodian in this industry, I do not need to know you before I stand up, okay? And I have heard stories over the time, but I feel is because, you know, friends of the streets, when they come together, when they do things together, you look at it like, okay, they are together, they are in one family, they roll together, they do all together. But someone like me did not know. But I think a couple of people knew, but they shielded that information. The time I started getting into this matter was when I saw an interview from what's his name, from Bela's mother, talking about the fact that he wanted to jump from the window because he wanted to leave a label. He was under duress and all that. That was when I started getting into the matter. I started gathering information and all that.
So what information have you gathered?
Part of the information I gathered is the fact that he's always been on threat. I've gathered information that he has never been able to walk freely. Somebody told me at a particular time that he wanted to drive in his car. If it was not for God, he was fast to close his door, and acid was poured on the car, and like the paint of the car shredded down. A lot of stories flying left and center, you know, and that actually shocked me. And that was when I actually got really crazy about this matter. Like, this is the industry we grew. This is the industry we started. This hip-hop thing, IOJB, ID Kabasa, Profiti, and the rest, we laid a strong foundation. We call ourselves, we didn't believe in just Nigerian music. We wanted our music to be heard all over the world. You know, I would do a song, I'll call Kabasa, listen to it, and listen to it and say, I think you should correct this. That is the relationship we build in this industry. But I'm shocked that with what I'm hearing, like, you set up an entity and you sign artists into your entity, and you are grooming them for something as against the initial reason of bringing them into the label.
Did you see the video that allegedly Larry was about to hit Mohbad, if not that Zlatan came to his rescue? How did that make you feel?
I haven't been able to sleep since when this started. For 72 hours, I've been really, really bad. Just yesterday was the time I was able to sleep a bit. When I had conversation with the Nigerian police, you know, I had some liaison, you know. I spoke to a couple of people that I know that are strong men in the industry and people that are outside the industry. Because, you know, this must stop. This will never happen. Now, I'm going to say this again.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. You just mentioned the Nigerian police. You know, there was a document that was out there that the Mohbad took legal actions and put this matter on the police's table.
Yes.
But according to the Nigerian police, he never showed up. However, why were actions not taken when he was complaining that he was physically being abused?
Let me say this. I'm not going to take the side of the Nigerian police. Every day, they get millions of petitions. Now, when you put up a petition, you are supposed to press on a petition. But when you don't press on a petition, there's a problem. There's a problem when you don't press on your petition. Now, you are being called to come and push up on this petition. You didn't come through. You get what I'm saying? I am not going to say that that's right or wrong. But the point is, you must press on any petition. This is Nigeria, for God's sake. Regardless of this. Waiting they pay me for body, I can't fold my hands. I don't want to push it. You get what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, when I started this war with the police myself, they were still telling me that there was no petition until I pressed through the bigger authority. And imagine how Abuja is knowing that a petition was written before the story now changed and said, okay, we invited him, he didn't come. Negligence. You know? Must it be a son of the emir? Must it be your bad son? Must it be a big man's son before you guys can attend to his matter? It's wrong. This thing is still beat back to the government at the end of the day because we don't even have a secular. We don't have anything to make us... There's nothing to put together and say that, okay, you belong to this industry, okay, you are a celebrity. When you get to a particular point, there's some things that you deserve and don't deserve.
Yeah. So now, like I stated in my opening statement, the initial report was that Mohbad had ear infection and he died from an ear infection. However, an autopsy was not carried out. Why do you think an autopsy was not carried out? And he was horridly buried.
See me, I'm going to say this straight. I think I'm going to say this as against Mohbad's father. I probably would say maybe Mohbad's father is being threatened by the people who are involved in his death. Because in the real sense of it, nobody should bury that star like that. You said you were in his house on Saturday. He still gave you money when you left his house. So why would you hurry to even bury him? And in the course of all this, you still got a coffin that was even smaller than his side. You got to bend his neck. Some things are very horrible. See, as much as I want to call so many people's name in this, I do not want to jeopardize the investigation of the police, one. And two, where I might come back on this show might be the fact that if the police will not swing into action in between today and tomorrow. Enough of all the long stories.
What do you think Naira Marley's possible involvement might actually be? Because he has put out a statement saying that...
Naira Marley is involved. Namari cannot tell me he's not involved. He has a hand in his death. Somebody can be under your label and is being bullied every day. And you never came out to say anything. And you say you don't know about it, you're putting up statement. Anybody can put up a statement. Naramali has an involvement in it. He can't tell me no. If I were Naramali, he should turn up himself. Come into this country. Come and defend yourself. Put yourself out. Sam Larry does not even have anything to say. That one can be on the run forever. Because you can see his own evidences over your faces. Those are pictures, that's not doctored. So Naramali can never tell me he's not part of this. Anybody that is in this team that's still fooling him and telling him lies, they should better stop right now. He needs to come out and come defend himself. Because in the real sense of it, I'm just going to say by the law, and let's fool ourselves and say, okay, because it's still been alleged, it's not what you can say yet. Yes, I'll say it's been alleged. But you know what? I can say to his face, he knows about this. And let him come out and wash himself clean and say, I, Naramali, I am not involved in this. Then let the police do their due diligence like the English they used.
Also, do you think that there's a need for the government's body, NDLA, to release a statement? Because there's a particular video circulating the internet that Mohbad alleged that something was put in his drink right at their office. So do you think the NDLA needs to come out and debunk this?
It's appalling when you see public service where they cannot come out to speak, when they have to go through a long process, hierarchies, before a statement is being released. If it did happen, come out and talk about it. I've been saying this, you see this thing is a ticking time bomb. Gunpowder, they're sitting on it. See, a lot of people is interested in this case, even inside this country and in diaspora, they're interested in this case because Sam Sultan died. We all felt bad, felt a type of way. But what is the different thing about this is the fact that a lot of people do not want to hear it. There's so many things that's wrong about it. So many things. And I want to say this again on this platform. I believe that the government of Asiwaju will not fold their hands and let this slide. I don't want to know who is involved. See, the street is upset. When I mean the street is upset, the street is very, very upset. A lot of people do not know who I am. But I still will not want to let everybody know who I am. But in the real sense of it, Naramali need to come out and fix this. If the police needs to pick Mohbad's dad, let them do.
Talking about the streets being upset, like I said, right now it's just based on all the videos that we're seeing on social media. There's a particular one during his last show at a drink brand. He was performing for a drink brand. And then you could hear voices and you could hear people saying that Sam Larry will, quote and unquote, kill you today. Coupled with that video and also the video where he was shooting a music video with Zlatan where Sam Larry obviously tried to attack him. You know, well, what do you make of these evidences? Like we said, it is not in our place to authenticate it because it's left for the authorities. Yeah. However, what are your thoughts? My
thought is this, like I said, Sam Larry has been a dog that's been used. I just want to say this, I feel that boy's death is not just for him alone. His death is for a whole lot of people that has been oppressed by Sam Larry and his courts. A lot of people, I have moved a lot of evidences to the police, personally, and I believe they're going to work on it. A lot of boys have spoken to me back to back. This has always been what has been happening back to back. But you know what? People feel I know one person in power, then I'm untouchable. I want to say this in broken English. Who God no fit catch, never create them. There's nobody on this earth that is untouchable. And when it has to do with a star, that boy, see, outside his family that is going to go into hunger strike, a lot of people are attached to him. There's a manager that will start from level 0. There's a videographer that works with him. No more work for them. There's a dancer. No more work for them. There's a photographer. No more work for them. Everybody that's attached to that boy, his glory, is gone right now. It's gone. And this industry was not built in that foundation. Why must it continue? See, a lot of things has been happening in the past. I've heard story of the Banj too, at a particular time, on One Day Cool. I've heard so many stories. See me? Nothing goes for long. Nothing lasts forever. There must definitely be a payback for every soul who is involved in this boy's death. That's what I'm going to say.
What has been different? Because from what you've said, this has been happening in the industry, and it's not just peculiar only to Mohbad. Why is this case different? Why are people beginning to speak up now? Why has this gained momentum?
I said something. I said his death is just not just natural. He has a strong head in Yoruba. They say, really, because this will have just slide. He's probably one of the only artists that has left a label in Nigeria that's been able to bounce back and release a song and make a hit. No artist that's left a label in Nigeria with problems have been able to come back and make a hit. The band left more hit. I mean, Waneko left more hit. Waneko is still struggling so bad to get up, to get a hit. Of course, a lot of people love him. I'm a fan of him. You get what I'm saying? So on the low, with the push, and we love him. So it's the love that we want for one day. But when you talk about a hit, Mohbad has been probably the only artist that has left a label with a problem, with an issue, and come out and made a hit. 1, a hit. 2, a hit. So it's a strong force, people to reckon with. And let me tell you the truth, because he died in a very mysterious way. We just woke up in the afternoon and just heard Mohbad is gone. For what now? Not be that boy. For what?
So
he has never been caught sick.
The recent rise in his streaming, where would the money go? Because it has been a topic of debates, because there's still the case is still in courts as to getting back his catalog.
I overheard from the management saying that he was pressing on the case too to actually get his catalog back and all that. The new album he just released is under his own label, and hopefully that's actually one of the songs that are actually trending, where he can make his money back as well. But in the middle of all this, the only thing I can say to Nigerian artists is they need to calm down. You need to do the needful. You must take it easy in your pursuit for fame and fortune. Take it very, very easy. There's a whole lot of hyenas outside there that they are not who you see them to be. A lot of them come on social media, they share money. They are not who they used. They are not who they are. Who they paint themselves to be in the public. Behind, they are wild animals. I'm just going to say this and drop it on the table for them. Be careful. Not all people we see on social media, you call them baba baba. They are wrong people in the real life. A lot of you artists that have talent can be stars. Just a time. Follow that process. They know that you guys are not ever patient. Is the reason why you always fall victim. And let me say this again. I said, before Mohbad entered into Naira's page, he would have sensed a lot of stuff. Naira can't tell me he's not into all this substance. You will have seen yourself that this place is not the right place I'm supposed to be. But you know the pursuit that I want to be big will keep you there and say, maybe, for example, let me use like 1 year or 2 years, maybe I can go. Would they carry leg enter inside river? We can they shout cold. You are in there. You are in there. So for any other person, like I said, my war and my battle is not for Mohbad. It's for the ones that are still oppressed. A lot of people cannot talk. They're still under. Still sneaking. I know they know people in power. We are in power. We are all in power. But in the true sense of it, I'm probably not supposed to say this here, but while growing up, when we hear about their frats and all that, we used to hear that it is meant to protect the oppressed.
Yeah, now, talking about frats, there has been a lot of previous videos being released about Naira Marley's involvement back in Peckham in London.
Now, why are you the one oppressing your own? They see that place as where people run to. See, let me tell you about a little back. It's like about Christians too. Those years, those ages, those centuries, churches too were like frats, whereby you can't come out boldly and say, I'm worshiping Jesus.
So are you saying most record labels are like fraternities?
I am telling you what it is. I am telling you what it is. So it's not a crime. Fraternities is supposed to work to help you to the top. Whereby, e.g., I know you, you know this, you know that person. It helps you wire your song to the top. But what I'm saying now is this. It is not used for the purpose what it's supposed to be used for. It's like somebody saying that I belong to a Macadenuga family. It's more or less like a frat. Anything I do, it gives us a network to be able to come out and get to the right place in time. Because I'm affiliated to that Macadenuga family. So why are you now using the sold non-power you have to oppress the people. The Elegushi have to come and disengage themselves from your name. The same frat you think you have made noise about how to release a letterhead to saying that you are not their member. Why? I believe this is not a Mohbad's fight. It's not a Mohbad's thing. It's just that Mohbad is the one that is skyrocketing this. And I'm going to tell you for free that this is not going to slide, and it's a callback for every artist, celebrities. And I'm going to say this again. For every stars, any young artist that want to be a star, take your time. Take your time. All that glitters are not gold. You see me in my life, I say to a lot of them, like, I want to be remembered that I lived by my rule, not by the rule of the society. Now, you see a lot of celebrity, female celebrity on Gucci bags and all that. They don't tell these girls how they make money. So they go the extreme, want to make those money too. It's high time we take it easy on these people. It's high time we take it easy on them, because it is not helping this society. I don't know if you saw a video of Ada Ame that just passed.
That's a memory.
You know, the video sounded like she recorded it yesterday, calling out Naira Marley. You are not supposed to be helping this society. People following this Naira Marley should go back. People doing this should go back. In the real sense of it, it is what it is, and it's still standing today. And I don't think this government is going to fold their hands. Even if he knows you, even if you guys you've dined together, see, you can go and solve it in jail. But you see, for this, we need to put sanity into this environment, because you don't like it or not, bro, it's going to happen to the next person behind you.
All right, thank you so very much for coming on K-Solo. And this is where we wrap up the show. We have seen pictures of Sam Larry with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have seen his pictures with the governor. And I am very sure that these people with constituted authority will not just fold their hands and allow certain people soil and spoil their name. Like we said earlier, we're going to leave this to the appropriate authorities who will determine the next course of action. But I want to call on the police force. I want to call on the government officials. I want to call on all appropriate authorities to please take up this matter, give it the maximum priority, because we're talking about not just the future of the Nigerian youth, we're also talking about the next generation. And if examples are not being set, if people are not being punished for actions that they took, and it has been confirmed that they took those actions, if there are no consequences for actions, if there are people that use their access to the government to abuse power and they're not brought to justice, how can the Nigerian youth have faith in their leaders? How can we have faith in this country? Remember, posterity will judge all of us.
Everybody.
And that's it on Rubbin Minds. I'll see you next week.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's